Everyone to another edition of the Australian Association of Street Photographers Speaker Series for 2022. My name is Russell Mason, Vice President of AASPI, and I'll be your host for tonight. And as per usual, to start things off, I'd like to ask everyone to keep their devices set to mute during the presentation. And if you have any questions as we go along, please type them into the chat function of your Zoom screen, and Adrian, our moderator for tonight, will pose your questions during the talk when we get a chance. So tonight's guest speaker, we are excited to have another international street shooter, and we have the Singapore-based Betty Go. Now, Betty's been shooting street for about 3 years, and in that time she's crammed in quite a bit. Her main passion is abstract street photography, which has led her to develop her own distinctive style. Her work has been recognised and featured in the first Women in Street book and a joint exhibition, Graphics in Street, with none other than Siegfried Hansen. So that was in like a gallery in Singapore. I'm sure we'll hear a bit more about that in tonight's talk. So without further ado, here she is all the way from Singapore. It's over to you, Betty and Adrian. Thank you.
Hello, hi everyone. Hi, I'm Betty Go. Thank you very much for coming to this call, and thank you to the Australian Association of Street Photographers for your invitation for me to speak at this presentation. It is my honor to be here. So today I'm going to talk about in her style, and the main objective of this presentation is to give a little introduction about myself and to explain what I think is my photography style, as well as to explain what is my motivations behind this style. So there's a bit of story behind it. So I hope you enjoy. Okay, ready? All right. So a little introduction about myself. I'm born and raised in Singapore, and I'm currently based in Singapore too. And I started street photography three and a half years ago. Okay, there's a little story behind it. Slightly before 3.5 years ago, sometime in 2016, I have a little health problem, and but it was, in the end, it was not serious. But that made me realize that I didn't have any work-life balance. So I've been working all my life, from day to night, night to day, and I never enjoyed myself. I never had any hobbies. And because of this incident, this health incident, that made me realize that, okay, I better get some hobbies. So I tried a few hobbies, but it didn't work out well, and they kind of like, no, not suitable. There, okay. And then one day I thought that, okay, how about photography? Okay, the thing is, because for my work I have to travel a lot, almost 80 to 90% within the year I have to be away from home. So I thought that taking up a camera to take some photos when I'm away from home on the weekends, when I'm on my off days, I could take some travel photos. And I did. So I just take some travel photos. Okay, I think they look quite okay, but I don't really feel a sense of satisfaction. I just feel that they are like average. There's nothing outstanding about those photos. So then in October 2018, I had I wanted to have a short vacation in Tokyo, and then I saw a advertisement which is saying a 2 days workshop with a German guy called Siegfried Hansen. And during that time, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, and I don't even know who is he, what he does, and what is street photography. I just know that, okay, sounds like a fun activity to do. And I signed up without any expectation. So as soon as the workshop started, I was totally amazed and inspired by him. I was like really thrilled to know, like, oh wow, you can photograph like this and like that. And yeah, so I was like really, it was like kind of life changing for me, which I never expect. And so when I went home, I mm, I practice a lot, and then I kind of practice, and I send some photos to Siegfried, and he looked at the photos, and he kind of probably make one comment and say that I think you should go towards the direction of abstract street photography. And I listen to it, and I think to myself that yeah, maybe he think I have some aptitude in that. And I also felt quite happy doing the abstract street photography. So yeah, so I continued. I practiced a lot. He also encouraged me to continue doing that, and I did that. And so far, for the last 3.5 years, I still find that I'm very passionate about abstract street photography. On the sideline, I also do candid streets, candid streets, but they're kind of all right. I think it's a secondary interest for me, but I feel more passionate and I feel more myself when I do abstract street photography. So this is a little small image of Siegfried here on the bottom, right? And then he has this white caps image of his work, and I remembered this is the image on his advertisement. And during that time, I didn't even understand what is this, why they are like this, like four circles. And maybe I even just noticed three circles. I didn't know that, further than that. And this photo that you see on this slide, this big photo on the right side, is one of my early photo that I took after the workshop. Okay, so I'm honored to be the only Singaporean artist included in the first Woman Street Photographers book, curated by Gunara, which was published last year. And this book featured 100 contemporary female street photographers around the world, sorry. And I'm glad to be a finalist in some of their exhibitions. And I'm also very honored that last year in September, I was invited and admitted as a Leica Guild member. And since then, I have been an artist presenter of two of their Leica conversations. And even more honored is that I had a chance to hold a joint exhibition, graphics in streets with Siegfried, right, in Leica Singapore last December. And this is the one of the advertisement for the exhibition. Okay, so now comes the interesting part. Okay, what do I think is my photography style? Well, okay, I have to take some time to think about it, and I put in some points. First of all, I think my style is quite unique and distinctive. Um, I the thing is that some of my followers, they make a comment to say, "Oh, once I see this photo, without even looking at the name, I know this photo is from you." So that is I think it's a compliment. So I think that's good. It's important that the style should be unique and distinctive, that represents my style. And I think my style is contemporary, it's more modern, and towards geared towards abstract. And for me, whenever I photograph, I try as much as possible to create some mystery in my photos, to invoke some imagination for the audience. And some of my photos can contain some surrealism. And in order to create all this mystery and abstract and all these things, my main focus is on urban streets, more on the city life. And especially because I am now based in Singapore, I didn't travel out. So for about 2.5 years, I've been here. And so kind of lots of opportunity for the urban streets. And the use of colors, lines, use of spaces, um, creating layers in my photos, use of lights, reflections, shadows, and silhouettes. And not just that, usually I do not just focus on one element. Like, for example, I don't just focus on shadow. I will also incorporate other elements to it. So multiple elements, at least two elements. For example, a shadow plus reflection, or reflection with lines or something like this. So kind of I try to create multiple. The photo should contain multiple elements, and then to show the interaction between the elements. So this is what I think my style is. Of course, some of the audience may disagree, or they have other opinion, which later on, if we have time, we can ask them. Okay, now another interesting point is why do I photograph in this way? Okay, that really I really have to think quite a bit. And it's not like consciously that say, oh yeah, because I want to do this, I want to do that. Kind of it took quite a bit of time for me to reflect on myself, to think that why on earth do I want to photograph in this way. So then I come to a conclusion that it's probably a reflection of my subconsciousness. You see, I actually dream a lot. And unfortunately, they are not sweet dreams. They're usually nightmares. And this nightmares, kind of the story, they are very bizarre. And sometimes when I wake up, I'm just thinking like, why on earth I would ever like dream this kind of strange things, even dead bodies and all these things. So then I kind of go deeper and think that yeah, maybe it's a reflection of my subconsciousness. I may have some hidden emotions that I am not really aware of. And I would say there's some classification of the emotions. It could be feeling very pressurized, maybe because of work, feeling under pressure, feeling of stress, and feeling of sadness, the feeling of loneliness, and the desire to be free. So I think, yes, I think these are kind of the emotions that my subconsciousness is holding. And many times when I wake up and I tell my friends or family that, oh, I have this strange dream, and the very first thing people will advise me is to write it down. Okay, why don't you write it down? And perhaps you can create a story, and maybe it can be useful and become a movie script. And I was thinking about it, but I have a very lousy verbal communication skill and writing skill. So I couldn't really express myself well through pen and paper, or just like verbally. I cannot really express it myself. But when I found abstract street photography, I realized that it is like a medium for me to express these emotions through abstract street photography, by using the visual metaphor and analogy to express these emotions. So that's why I'm very interested in abstract street photography. I feel some connectivity with it. And of course, the last thing is that I think I have a little natural aptitude towards abstract street photography. Like what I said, I after I attended the workshop, I tried on my own, and kind of it just gets to me quite fast. And so maybe a little aptitude and some chemistry with this type of style. Okay. Yeah. So I think that kind of like explains why I like abstract street photography, and what these photos represent. So now I will move on to the next section, to show some examples of the photos of what this means, right? Like what I say about the subconsciousness. In the meantime, I think we can let in some one or two questions if there are any.
It's all good at the moment, Betty. So
Okay.
go ahead to the next section.
Okay, sure. Okay. All right. So this is the first photo I want to show, which is a kind of abstract street photo that I took and kind of express my emotions. This photo was taken probably within 1 year after I attended the workshop, and I arrived in Romania. And as soon as I arrived in the hotel, I walk out to the streets, which is a shopping streets. And very strangely, about 10 meters away, I saw a special light hitting on the glass window. And so I was very curious. So I felt that this light is very special, and it made me want to walk towards this glass window. So I walked towards it, and I saw this mannequin, and immediately, wow, I immediately, my first comment is, this is me. And I just feel an instant connection with this mannequin. It's not that I look like her or she look like me. I mean, physically we don't look like, but I think emotionally we look like each other. And especially like her sad eyes, and she feels like very sad and lonely and helpless. And I just feel instant chemistry with this mannequin. And with the surrounding reflections, is kind of like creating uh, enhance the mood of the feeling. So it's very funny because this was taken like kind of early stage in my photography journey. And when I submitted some photo contests and all these things, they sometimes ask me for my profile photo, and I never had a chance to have my photo taken. So I always think, can I submit this as my profile photo? And uh, not possible. This is not you. This is not you, so not acceptable. But I kind of, just to say that I have a kind of feeling that, this is me, right? So yeah, so this is the first photo I want to show. And the next photo, yeah, so this photo, I also felt that this is me. Kind of like, you will realize that when I take like this type of photos, right, I put my feelings into the character, and I feel that my soul is kind of transfer or transform into that character. And this photo's title is called Departure, and it's a bit sad thing. The thing is that I mentioned that I travel a lot for my work. Sometimes it's for short trip, and sometimes it's for slightly longer trip. And for slightly longer trip, that's the problem, because um, the first time when you go to the country, you feel very lonely, because you're just alone. You go there for work alone, and slowly, perhaps I get to develop some friendships or even relationships. And yes, so happy days together, going out and all these things, developing this kind of like great relationships. And but who knows, whenever I have to leave, I thought that we can always like keep in contact and all those things, but just realized that it never happened. It always things just come to the end. So it's always after a few times you just feel that, oh no, I mean, that's the end, so the point of the departure, when I step into the airport, that's the most heart pain moment, because I know that this is the moment that's the end, right? So this photo is kind of a bit sad. So a lonely character back facing, and she's departing. And in fact, this photo is also taken in one of the airports at the departure area. So I felt connection with this character. Okay, and now the next photo, again, one lady there, so you can already guess what it is. Again, I feel my soul is with this lady. Last year in July, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and so I it kind of like it was very sudden, and I felt very sad about it. And then in August, I had to go for my cancer treatment. So this August period was kind of my darkest moment in my life, because not only do I go through this physical pain, I also had to go through a heart break relationship, and that's more emotional pain, which probably worse than the physical pain. So then I had to go for my cancer treatment every day to the hospital. And in order to encourage myself and to motivate myself, that was when I bought my very first Leica camera. And I decided that, okay, every day after my hospital treatment, I would try to take some street photos near the hospital area. And so this photo was exactly taken near the hospital. And I was standing here, and again, I saw a very special light hitting at this area. And then this woman in red, this is the title of the photo, it's called Lady in Red. She walked past and into this light. And when I saw her, I immediately like got a big shock because she looks like me when I'm young. Maybe the figure, okay, and also the long limbs, her long arms. And I just thought that, wow, I mean, is this me? Like, I cannot believe it, like, and so in fact, I showed this photo to my mom, and then she also mistaken that that is me. But anyway, so this kind of like, so I thought that this is me, and kind of her coming out from the dark and into the light makes me realize that, I mean, it gives me some encouragement to move out of come out from the dark and go into the light. So kind of this photo is kind of has some significance to me. Okay, this photo is also taken around the same time, which is the cancer treatment period. And
So,
this,
Betty,
yeah.
I'll just interrupt. I can still only see the pelican photo. I'm not sure what other people are seeing.
Oh, what do you mean? Oh, what do you mean by?
On my screen, it's the pelican photo. That's the one I still see. It hasn't
Yeah.
advanced. Russ.
No, she's fine. My side.
Okay.
I've got the
Okay,
lady in
yes,
red now, and you advance to shadow photos after that, Betty.
Okay, it's at mine, Betty. Just making sure for everybody.
Okay.
Please proceed.
Okay. So now I move on to another image. Is that okay? Did you see that?
Well, I don't,
Yeah.
but everyone else does. I'll log out and come
Yes.
back in.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes. All right. So this photo that I'm showing you now, the title is called Disconnected. So again, as I said, this was taken around the same time during the cancer period. And why do I say disconnected? Okay, because I feel very disconnected during that period of time. From this photo, you can also see that there are people in the background. They're having fun, they have friends and all these things. But me, I'm standing in front alone, feeling very disconnected from the world. So I felt like this photo is also kind of represents my soul during that moment. Okay, I move on to another photo. So if you can see that is the next photo. All right. Okay. Now I'm okay.
Yep,
So this
all good.
photo, yep. So this photo is also taken around the same time during the cancer treatment period. As I said, during that time, I have two problems. One is the physical pain and the emotional pain, and I would say I almost cried to sleep every night. So so kind of like one of the nights when after I cried, I went to sleep, and very strangely I start to dream, and this time the dream is very strange. It is not about images. It is a string of words appearing in my dream, and there are four lines. And I was thinking like, oh, I mean, this is really strange because I'm not a person who is well read. I'm not into poems. So this string of words, which look like a poem, comes to me like some like a gift or some significance to me. So I quickly wake up and wrote down these 4 lines, and this is the words that you see over here. It says, call it a bad habit, don't be influenced by me. Okay, give me an ice cream, you will find that I am no longer here. And I kind of thought about it, and I interpreted in a way that because of the sadness, it keeps going back to the dark, and then sometimes I try to console myself, and it tries to move out of the dark into the light, and then again, very soon later, it will go back to the dark again. So it's like a cycle, and so it keeps going round and round like a bad habit. Is what I interpret. And then because when I go back in to be normal again, perhaps because I'm try to console myself that, oh yeah, maybe the person is trying to be nice, person maybe didn't do this, and now and all these things. So kind of like something like trying to entice you to believe in what it may be. And so it's like an ice cream, like trying to entice you. But I feel that I should no longer believe in this anymore, because I know it's not true. And I feel that if you try to do that again, you will find that I am no longer here. So I felt that this dream has a meaning for me. And around that time, I actually photographed this photo, which is again a lady coming out from the dark and moving out from dark and running into the light. So there you go. I have a poem of my own that I never actually make any effort to compose it, but kind of the dream gave me this string of words. So like, wow, okay. Right. So that this is the first part, okay, which is like to just to give you an explanation that some of my abstract street photos is about me. Actually, the character that is not a selfie. I don't take selfies. I don't take a self portrait, but I kind of transfer my soul to the character that I'm photographing. Okay, so this is one of the thing. Uh, that is one of the element in my photos. And now we move on to the other kind of emotions, which is a feeling of maybe feeling under pressure and stress in the city life. You see, I grew up in the heart of the busy city, and I'm very thrilled by the excitement and the vibrance of the city life. But at the same time, I feel pressurized. So it's kind of a mixed emotion. You feel happy, but yet you feel scared. And but I'm very intrigued by this feeling, this mixed emotions. So I like to photograph the busy city life that kind of represents this kind of emotions, feeling stress and under pressure. um, yeah, and also the thing is that many people say that, oh, I don't like city life people because they have no emotions, they have no facial expressions. But that's the point, right? um uh, I don't need facial expression, not explicit facial expression, to express something. I want to photograph people with no facial expression, and to be able from there to express their emotions through the photos in a subtle way. So yeah, so in this photo, kind of you see very little emotions, but you can from me, I think there's a little bit of gloomy, and a feeling of busy, and kind of feeling a bit of stress, attention within this photo. Yeah, so another example of stress city life, like in the pressure cooker. Although they are like vibrant city lights, but the vibrant city lights is the surface, the superficial, but deep in, people are feeling pressurized. Another example of the busy city life, when people are like cramped in one single space, but you can see that everyone has their own agenda. They are busy with their own things. Yeah, fast-paced environment. Another thing about fast-paced environment in a city life. So again, also to represent the pressure, right? The pressure of the busy city life. Again, here I don't show facial expressions. I represent the characters with black characters. Okay, which is like a soul, right? So kind of this is also one of my style of photographing. Not to show much of facial expression, but to use in a subtle way to express that kind of emotion. Okay, the next emotions is also kind of related to being pressurized, is feeling very trapped. I feel that sometimes I like to move on to do the things that I like to do, but I just feel that there's so many surrounding elements that I feel very trapped, that I cannot move on. So kind of this is one of the photos to show that the struggle of getting out from the trap. The feeling, again, feeling trapped or suppression, within a small space. You just feel like cannot breathe. And the desire to be free from all this pressure. So sometimes I like to photograph, like to show somebody running free. It's like, again, like me as a woman running away free. There's the desire to do that. The other emotion also, like what I say from my subconsciousness, is about sadness and cry. And so this photo, I think, kind of represents that because sometimes when I look in the mirror of myself, I just cry. And so this kind of a representative, the reflection on the right side, which is the black soul, is not me. So you will see that all my photos do not have a selfie, right? But I will use a person on the street, a character on the street, to represent me. So then this soul, he's like, she's looking at the mirror, and the left hand side is to show the cry. Okay. The feeling of helplessness, also like cry or helplessness. And here, again, similar emotions, the feeling of loneliness and sadness. Um, Here you can see through the use of not just one figure, but through the use of contrast, lights and shadows and geometry to kind of enhance that kind of feeling. So yeah, so I mean, these photos kind of like probably you agree or don't agree with me, that kind of it shows the emotions that I mentioned to you. And so recently I got to know one of Singapore kind of quite a top painter. He's currently focusing on the Chinese ink painting, and I showed some of my photos to him. And without me explaining too much about my photo, he was very fast to interpret what my photos were trying to say. And he wrote in Chinese, and he wrote a Chinese poem for me. And I really, I feel very touched about it. And I feel kind of grateful that I never expect that anyone will even write a poem to describe my photos. So on the on the left hand side is the original text that he wrote. His name is Mr. Tong, and in Chinese his name is Deng Runen. And on the right hand side is the, I just do a Google translation. Okay, so I just read out the words. May not be exactly whatever he tried to write, but kind of close to what it meant. Okay, so you can feel the emotion. The image weeps at the edge of the world, soundless. The solo waits for the moment of light, motionless. The mind wanders in another dimension, restless. The helpless reincarnation of time and space, endless. So I really, as I said, I'm very grateful for to have anyone writing this kind of poetic words for my photos. So I would say that in summary, my photos are abstract expressions of my soul through the streets. So the street is like a medium for me. It's just like mm, other artists, maybe they are using paintings to express themselves, or they are writing song lyrics to express myself to themselves. But for me, abstract street photography is a way of expressing myself. Yeah. So, any questions so far? Or think like I'm talking nonsense
No,
before
no,
I move to the next section? Yeah.
go on to the next section, Benny. It's
Okay.
going. The talk's going great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. So the next section is slightly not so heavy. It's just to show you some other photos that I have, and just to explain. Maybe for the audience, some of you may be interested to know how I take these photos. Some of the thoughts and thought process when I photograph them. So yes, so this is the first photo that I want to show. I would say that this photo is kind of a yin and yang kind of feeling, um, because it has like graphics and a feminine woman. Um, Normally for graphics, I think it's more masculine, okay, and then of course the woman is more feminine. So it's a yin and yang. And my first trigger when I take this photo is actually the yellow sticker. All right, so I saw this yellow sticker and I walked towards this wall, and I noticed the line above and below it. And then I also saw the reflection of the zebra on the wall. So you can see a faint reflection at the bottom of the wall. And kind of then I realized that it kind of like creates a boundary, like a frame on the left hand side. And that is when I think that, yes, okay, I should require a human element to be there in that space. So very fortunately, I had this lady who is wearing a red dress and shoes, and she walked into this frame, and that's when I captured this moment. The other type of photos that I like to take is to capture multiple scenes within one single shot, one single exposure. So all my photos are all single exposure. Okay, I never do any multiple exposures. So as I say earlier on, I try to incorporate multiple, more than one element in my photos. For example, not just reflection, but maybe reflection plus silhouette in this situation. And yes, so then I saw this frame and I captured the characters in three different characters. In fact, three plus one, okay, because one is a fake fashion model, and within this single frame. Again, example of multiple elements within one photo. On the left hand side, you will see it's just a shadow. Left hand side, just shadow. And then in the middle, we have the silhouette. And then on the right hand side, we have kind of the real person. We can see it with a light hitting on her. So yeah, so there's another example of use of multiple elements in my photos. For this photo, probably the first glance, you don't find any thing interesting about it, but I find it's interesting because I was standing here and I noticed some shadows walking around on the wall. I mean, like kind of the light was hitting on the wall and shadows were like just moving up and down. And then I I start to capture some scenes, and I'm very fortunate that I captured this one, because if you notice, there are 6 models in the poster, and you will realize that there are 6 shadows on the wall, and it kind of represents that the souls of the models are cast onto the wall. And also you realize that on the poster on the left hand side, we have the major model, which is a bigger size. And at the same time, at the same side, we also have a bigger shadow on the left hand side. So yes, so even though it may look quite simple photo, but it was kind of difficult to photograph. And I'm very fortunate to be able to photograph this. Yeah. Okay, another thing that I like to photograph is to try as much as possible to create my image in a more of a 3D dimension kind of style instead of a flat 2D. So this is one example that is more like a 3D effect, where you can notice that we have something in front and something in the back, which kind of creates this 3D effect. And yeah, okay, I think we have somebody who is not mute.
Sorry, but Carrie, can you please mute yourself? Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this again, and as I stand here, when I stood here, I saw this frame, which is a great frame, and then I was waiting for a figure or human character to walk into this frame, and very fortunately, there was a man. He wanted to cross this frame, and he saw me carrying a camera, and he was feeling very embarrassed that he's blocking my way, so he kind of hurried through. So that's where I capture his hurried through moment, and that completes the picture. This photo also is also kind of difficult for to observe and to capture it. The first thing is, again, normally I try to look from a wider angle rather than a very like close angle. When I stood further away, I noticed that the first thing I noticed were 2 triangles, two white triangles, one on the top left and one on the bottom right. That was my first trigger. And then I saw this gap in the middle, and I wanted to have somebody walking into this frame. And so I waited, and then very fortunately, there's this lady. She's wearing a long, silky skirt with red toes, okay, red painted toes, and she just walked through this frame like just 1 second, and I'm very fortunate that I got my focus right and I captured this moment, and the movement of her legs and wave on the red skirt was just perfect. And not just that, but because of the way she walked, it creates a third triangle, which is the red triangle, and kind of it became a red pop in this photo. So, and she was, I think, she's on the right height. Okay, she wasn't too tall or too short. She was kind of quite just nice height. So kind of, I love this photo very much. Even though anyone who sees it maybe it's yeah, simple, but it's not simple to photograph. Okay, another photo, just to show that I sometimes also like some serialism, okay, to kind of like chop off the head and all these things. Okay, not that I deliberately, cut it off through Lightroom or Photoshop and all this, but it is through the use of the angle that I take, that kind of creates this effect. And the next photo here is also a photo that I like it. The first trigger is actually the light streaming down the red wall, which is in front on the right side. That was very nice, very beautiful. I saw this light streaming down, and then I decided to take like shadows against the second red wall. And this is actually not a silhouette, but it is a shadow. So the human is somewhere else. And this is also a very nice, distinctive looking shadow, because maybe her arm or her hand was very distinctive. And what adds to this is another small light was hitting on the person's face and kind of create the eye of the eye of the character. So I also love this photo very much. This photo is also kind of nice. Again, I happened to stand at this spot, and I realized that, wow, such a great frame. Because first I see the red and white tape in front of me, and part of the red and white tape casts a shadow onto the blue wall. And as you go up upwards, you will see a white hand-drawn white arrow on top. And this arrow is kind of pointing down to this white space on the right side. And then from above this space, you will see the green lines flowing upwards. So kind of there is a connection between the elements in this photo. And so, of course, this white space would be a perfect place for a character to walk past. And again, very fortunate that I have this very nice looking silhouette walking past. She was probably like answering some video call, talking to her friends. So very distinctive silhouette. And yes, so then there's this photo, which is a reflection. The first thing I have is to look at this model. And this model, if you look at the real poster, he doesn't look like this. Okay, so it's more the angle that I chose. And then from this angle, right at the far back, you will see a mannequin, a head of the mannequin. And I thought that it'll be nice to have a character, a human, to walk in between the space. And very fortunate, they have two person walking past wearing a mask. Okay, so don't look down on the power of mask. Okay, the mask is very good because it creates a white effect, and kind of like, wow, okay, so without the mask maybe it's not so powerful, but with the white mask it was like great. And so kind of it creates a connection between all these characters, from the far mannequin's head to the woman's mask to the man's mask, and then to the model's eyes. So there's a line in between this character, which kind of I felt was great. And so this is the last photo. So before we answer any other questions, I just want to say a special thanks to my fans, okay, because I started my Instagram after the workshop with Siegfried, and he's the one who encouraged me to open the Instagram. So thanks to him, he's my first follower. Okay, so I only have like one or like 2 followers, okay, initially, but I wasn't very sure of my work. I wasn't confident at all, but through his encouragement, I start to post, share some of my work, and I'm very grateful that I have a group of fans who are very supportive of my work, and very appreciative of my work. So thank you very much to everyone. And of course, thanks to Siegfried for first discovering my potential, and also his continuous encouragement and support for me. And also to Mr. Tong, whom I met recently. He's also very encouraging to me, and he's a very positive influence for me. So yes, so special thanks to them. And okay, to end the presentation, of course, we have questions later on. Just in case you do not know who my Instagram account, that's my Instagram account, and that's my website. Okay, so I hope you enjoy the presentation and to have a deeper knowledge of what my style is and what my photos represent.
It was
Yep.
awesome, Betty. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And we've got a couple of questions for you at the moment. And if anyone else has any questions, please type them into the chat and I'll relay them on to Betty. So Mark Millick asked, does abstract street photography have the advantage of preserving people's anonymity?
You mean like to preserve their identity?
Yes.
Yes, I think yes, because now with lots of like laws and regulations and the thing about privacy, so I think that is there's something useful in the long run, I guess. I mean, for me, I think it's a useful skill in the long run.
Yeah. And Calvin Morrison, he's got a two-part question. It goes on for a bit. You talk emotion and your photos, do they significantly affect what you see when you are out shooting? And when you look back at a series of shots, you can tell immediately.
Yeah. So, firstly, I must kind of feel that way. Of course, very strangely, when I'm sitting at home, or I do not have this kind of emotion. I do not know what I'm going to photograph. But as soon as I'm out on the street, I see the people moving around. I see kind of the rhythm of the place. It kind of then it start to trigger my emotions, and I start to feel what I want to photograph at that moment. Does that answer the question?
No. And Calvin also asked, do you tend to take a lot of shots or only a small number each time you go out?
I don't really take many shots when because I don't try to take unnecessary shots. If you mean what I mean. If I especially like at the beginning, as I say, Siegfried is my teacher, and he when he saw that initially I took just simple like shadow shots and all those things, he already told me that these are unnecessary for you because I know you can do better than this. So I kind of like, if it's simple shadow shots, forget about it. I'm not going to spend time. I will try to look deeper into what else I can photograph.
And another question here is, do you ever see something you want to photograph without people in it?
Yes, sometimes I do photograph things without people in it. But after a while, I find bored doing that. So I still prefer to have at least some kind of human element in it. It doesn't really need to be a full human figure, but it can be the hand or the legs, just to represent that this is like there's life in this place.
Mm. And do you prefer to shoot solo or do you enjoy shooting with others?
I prefer to shoot solo because that's when I can trigger my emotions. If I'm with somebody else, then I'm kind of very confused and I just cannot get my soul out of it. So I'm very apologetic if anyone wants me to go out photographing with them and I reject them because I really feel that I cannot do it. I need my soul to appear to come out from me.
Yeah. And just a couple of comments here.
Yeah.
Ken Abrahams just said, very good, your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
And
Thank you.
Chan Jiang just said, wow, the pillars, which I referred back to that the photo of the two red pillars and
Okay.
the shadow on it. So, yes, unless we have any more questions, I'll hand it back over to Russ.
Okay, well, I'll take it over from there then. Thanks, Adrian. I have one question, Betty. I always sneak a question in at the end. I was just a generic question about street photography in Singapore, and how popular is street photography in Singapore?
How popular?
Yeah.
I don't think it's as popular as Australia because I think you have so many street. Every time I see street photos, I mean, like definitely Australia is more than Singapore. So I don't think it's like a big thing in Singapore. But I think it's getting more popular nowadays because nowadays I see some young people carrying cameras around.
And then you mentioned before about laws and that. Is there any specific laws that we would have to be careful of if we were
In
wanting to go
Singapore?
to the streets of Singapore?
Yeah, so far we don't have a real fixed law or a written down law, but I think some places like in the train stations and all those things, we try not to photograph because they are kind of they always like sometimes people come up to say, oh, they're like surveillance camera, and probably they are like very afraid of like terrorists spying on the train station. So if they ask me to go away, I will try to yeah, follow the whatever they say, because you never know, maybe they'll catch me to be suspicious terrorist or whatever. And sometimes very funny that when I'm in the train station photographing, and then this announcement say, if you see any suspicious person, please report immediately. And I'm just thinking, am I the one that they are referring to?
Well, I know that Singapore is a very modern city architecturally, and I'm just looking at all your photos there. I noticed there was the one that was taken. I'm not sure, it was the one with the mannequin, and there was a couple of domes in the background of an old city. Is that Romania? Did you say?
Romania, yeah, the very first one, yeah, that's Romania.
So when you go overseas or when you travel, are you actually looking for the modern architecture to incorporate in your photographs because of your upbringing in a modern city, or do you challenge yourself to go out and seek an older scene?
Okay. The thing is that when that Romania photo was taken like in my early days, and I actually booked the trip before I know about street photography. So when I went there, I just like photographed. But I think it's okay. But I think moving forward, where possible, if I have to spend money to travel to take some photos, I will try to. First priority is to photograph modern city, because that's um, my my theme of my style.
Mhm. Well, very well. That's fantastic. Yeah, I just I'd like to end it up there, and I guess on behalf of all the AASPI members and our visitors, we have many visitors tonight. So this speaker session was very popular. I think got a lot of great followers. But I'd like to thank you for your time and your presentation tonight.
Thank you.
Fantastic presentation with some beautiful photographs.
Thank you so
So
much.
thank you.
And I think Adrian wanted to say something
Yeah,
too.
go ahead.
That's right. We just had one last question just come through, Betty, from Jane Craig Walker, and it's how often do you go out and shoot, and do you feel the need to go out regularly?
Yes. So I cannot commit my weekdays, because weekdays I'm working. But of course, if I could, then I will try to go after work. But otherwise, Saturdays will be my time of photographing, and Sunday, well, it depends on my mood. Maybe I'm too tired, or family and all those things. So, but Saturday, yes, I'll try to do that. And what was the next question? I forgot.
And do you feel the need to go out regularly? I think you sort of
Oh,
answered
yeah,
that.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's
And
important
Emma just
to go
asked.
out. Yeah.
Yep. And another question here is how much do you study the technical aspects of photography?
Oh, actually, no. I don't really study technical. So I just, when I first got my camera, I just know what is aperture, ISO, speed, and then I just try to um, mess around that. But other than that, I'm not a very technical person. I think I'm focused more on composition.
Yeah. And emotion drives your
Yeah, yeah.
composition and photography. So
Yes.
that's all done. We'll hand back over to Russ, and we'll say goodbye. Thank you all. And
Okay. Well, thank you, Adrian. Okay. Well, the next installment of the series will continue next month, and that's on the second Tuesday of May. So we have a session with Melbourne-based AASPI member Brent Durant. That's May the 10th. So you can pencil that one in your diary. So by now, all the AASPI members should have received the autumn edition of our newsletter, and also we've sent out a call for our annual exhibition of street photography at the Victorian Artists Society Galleries. So if you have not received one of these, please check your spam folders or send us an email, and we'll get that sent to you. So you can revisit tonight's session and all of our past speaker sessions on our AASPI YouTube channel, so you can check that out. And remember to subscribe if you have not done so you never miss out on any new content. We hope you have enjoyed tonight, and it has served, and we hope it served as some sort of inspiration to get you out on the street with your camera. So we'd love to have you join us exhibiting your work in the VAST galleries in the later half of July and August this year. So that's about it for tonight. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Betty. Thank you, everyone. And I
Yes,
hope to
thank
see you out
you,
on the
everyone. Thank you, Russ. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you.
streets. Okay, stay safe. See you
Stay
next
safe.
month. Good night.
Bye.